You are listening to Single Smart Female. This is Jen, explaining the possibilities in your love life and examining your mantourage dating experiences. I am here to help you do life and love on your terms by tipping the scales of love permanently in your favor. So don't forget to text this episode to all of your single smart girlfriends, and let's get started. Why, hi there, my single smart female. It's your romantic fairy godmama coming to you with romantic fairy godmama things today, which is a single smart female listener question. Now, today's listener question comes from Florida. And Miss Baggage Babe, who is 38, writes, Dear Jen, in my previous relationships, men have lied to me and lied bad, i.e. another woman. I believed them, but it bit me in the booty. This has caused me to not trust men I go on dates with. I always search and Google social media to validate what they tell me. For example, one guy told me that he doesn't like his ex and he cut ties with her, but he likes her social media posts and is still friends with her online. So I assume he is still in love with her and cut off dating him. How do I get over this mental block of never trusting men? All right, thank you, Miss Baggage Babe, for this question. And I've got lots of information for you today. And I'm going to start with just a trigger warning for everybody. I'm very well may trigger some people today. And like always, it's not my intention, but some things have to be said if you actually want a wonderful love life. So for those of you who trigger easily, let your guard down for a minute, take some deep breaths, and let's dive into it. So number one, the first thing you need to know if you really want to learn to trust men is that it's your choice to trust men, okay? And I'm going to tell you the how-tos in just a second, but it really boils down to whether or not you want to trust men again. And if you have no desire to trust men again because we use the excuses, this happened, this happened, this happened, and I'm not saying some of them aren't really fucking valid excuses, but even in the most horrific of situations, and I know there are some horrific fucking situations, it doesn't mean that you can't trust men. You can't learn to trust men. It is ultimately a choice. Anything we go through in life, we get to choose afterwards how we show up in life. And we get to choose over and over again. And yeah, sometimes we're going to fall and scrape our knees some more, and that does happen. But when you start to walk into the world of becoming an adored woman, you start to realize that there's so much power in your choice. And you keep navigating that. And you keep learning how to interact differently and change your perception on life in certain areas. And then you start to see much better results, okay? I'm not saying that certain women don't have more struggles that they go through, but I'm telling you, if you keep choosing to trust men, you can learn to trust men. That I promise you. Okay, number two, this is a part of the how-to, but this is really important. Okay, our habits have a lot to do with how we think and our perception on life, okay? And you have a habit of Googling people and going to social media in order to validate. We think it's because we're trying to figure out whether or not they're trustworthy, but we're actually the intention is to find why we can't trust them. So I have had with clients probably, and I've been doing this for years now, less than a handful of times, literally a handful of times, have we Googled somebody, okay? Why? Because we spend a lot of time connecting with them beforehand, so that trust is already built, and I help women communicate in a way so that men are very forthcoming with the things that they need to be forthcoming with. And so she has a much better idea, plus she's already built some chemistry, which gives her a platform for a great first date and for subsequent dates after that, because she does things differently instead of this instant meet and greet thing, okay? And that's really important to start understanding, and that we're living in a society where everybody tells you it should be instant connection, instant gratification, instant this, instant that. If you're not willing to choose the non-instant version and actually have the good stuff, then you're setting yourself up. So stop Googling. You're not the type of woman at this point that needs to be Googling anybody. Instead, you need to learn how to change the habits you have around your romantic prospects that actually set him up to win with you and set you up to attract better quality men. When you have that vibe about you and you reaffirm that vibe through your actions that you do not trust men, you're going to attract more not trustworthy men. If you know that you can trust men and you show up in life as if you can trust men and keep doing that over and over again and decide and choose, like we talked in the first point, decide and choose that men are here to adore you and care for you, and the right man will consistently step up for you because you're taking your time and not doing the instant gratification shit, then you're going to see that you can rewire yourself to trust men, and a trustworthy man will show up. Now, point number 3, social media is fucking awful for dating. It is fucking awful. Do I concede that some women meet their men on social media? Yes, I totally do. But that doesn't discount the fact that I know social media is fucking awful for dating. All right? If you have men following you and connecting, first off, I do recommend 2 places to meet men. The primary 2 are online dating sites and in person. Those are my primary 2. Does it mean there isn't other stuff that exists? And like I said, I concede that people meet on social media. But more times than not, social media fucks with your potential to develop a really wonderful relationship, and also fucks with your potential to learn how to mantourage date properly, which is what we're doing here in the first place. Okay, so social media, I'm going to tell you, it's going to leave you feeling insecure 95% of the time. Yes, I concede. There are places that will make you feel better on social media. But social media primarily, it's there to grab your attention and to grab it for long periods of time. I have lots of women that come to work with me and they don't even have social media. Why? Because it's not a necessary part of life to function, especially not in your romantic life. And I'm going to encourage you, if you want to use it minimally, that's great. Do not use it to find out about men. Do not connect with the men in your mantourage on social media. If you're going to keep your social media, then you connect with him once you're closer to an actual relationship. So with that said, again, social media will fuck with your self-esteem. It will create insecurities that didn't necessarily exist before. It'll exacerbate other insecurities that have always existed. And it really does next to nothing, especially for your love life. So I highly recommend that you pull back from that. Definitely pull back from the Google searching and, well, both searching on both of those platforms, and really focus on learning to create a great dating profile, learning how to mantourage date properly, and learning to rewire yourself through your habits, making the choice that you are going to learn how to trust men, that you are going to learn how to let men show up for you, and doing different habits around everything that you're doing so that you can rewire and establish a trust pattern versus a pattern of distrust. Okay. Number 4. This is one that women do a lot because they think we're going to get all the goods at the beginning, whether or not to date him. Don't engage him on his ex, okay? If a guy starts talking about his ex, tell him you'd like to change the subject and just focus on the two of you and getting to know each other. Why don't bond over exes? Nothing good ever comes out of it. If you do bond over exes, then great. Wait, if your relationship happens to work out, which that's really just a 50-50 fucking chance at best, then you spend an entire relationship bonding over crappy shit. If you're going to bond about the things that are great in your life and wonderful in your life, or challenging and fun, and the adventures you're going on to start with. Now, it doesn't mean you'll never disclose things, but it shouldn't be the go-to right at the beginning. And if you have a guy who won't stop talking about his ex, then there you go. That's a really good sign when you've asked him to change the conversation and he keeps going back to her. And by the way, I'm not a huge fan of guys that badmouth their exes, okay? They don't have to be super sweet or anything, but guys who constantly badmouth their exes, there's some shit going on there, especially if you've asked him to change the subject. So you've asked him to change the subject. Now, if you haven't yet and you're just listening and trying to figure everything out, you need to ask. And if he refuses to do that, that's actually a guy I would say, hey, go ahead and cut him out of your mantourage. Now, finally, I mentioned this earlier, But it is time. You have to learn how to mantourage date properly, okay? It's not just a, hey, let's date a couple men and see how it goes, and then stick in your own cycles of, here, let me keep repeating all the bad habits that I have before instead of understanding how I need to show up so that I can have my most amazing, incredible life and results while doing this. So mantourage dating, when you learn to do it properly, is something that you're going to fold into your life. And it is imperative that you learn how to do it properly. Don't just try it and just make up your own rules as you go along. Yeah, definitely you'll end up towards your own rules, but you have to learn the basics. You have to learn what it's actually about. You have to learn that it's not just about how, just how men show up and what to do with them, although that's a really big part and fun part of it, and learning how to engage men differently so you can elicit different results from them. But it's also about what's going on with you and the mental blocks, which you've already, talked about, the mental block of not trusting men. But I can guarantee you there's some more mental blocks. And one of the best ways to actually get to that mental block and address it and move through it is by mantourage dating. Because that's what life is, a mental block is you rewire by choosing that you want a different thought process there, and then showing up in your life with that different thought process, so eventually it sinks in. And you repeat that over and over again. Right now you're acting as a woman and living your life as a woman who doesn't trust men. And if you keep doing that same thing over and over again, all you're doing is affirming for yourself, I don't trust men. If you decide to do it differently, learn how to do it the right way, engage with men differently, work on the mindset part of it as well, and make the choice that you are going to learn to trust men, I can guarantee you that is going to happen for you. Now, to learn how to mantourage date properly, go to mantouragedating.com. Mantourage, that's spelled MANTOURAGE, dating.com. Okay, lover girl, it's time for the final thought on today's show. If you want to learn to trust men again, you need the following. 1, make the choice that you truly want to trust men. 2, learn how to mantourage date properly. And 3, show up in your life as a woman who already trusts men repeatedly. Hey again, lover girl. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app, as well as share this episode with all of your single smart girlfriends. And if you are the woman who is ready to create the dating and love life experiences that others say don't exist, meet me over at secretsocietyofAdoredwomen.com to schedule your application interview.